filtered out all the Dan-related emails. That leaves us with this last email, which I really debated reading.
Okay.
But these are always the good ones.
In the end, I felt like I had to. They always happen at the end. This one's from Ryan in California. The subject line, in all caps with 3 exclamation marks, drugs!
Oh.
I can still stop.
No, go on.
You said I should read
Is this a follow-up to something else?
No, this is an original email. It is long.
Okay.
I read a few choice quotes incredulously earlier, and Jeff made it sound like I should read it on the show.
Let's hit it, man.
I don't know that anyway.
Punch it.
This is esports.
Here
Let's
we
go.
are. Bomb Chiefs. I have something that you might find interesting regarding the subject of video games and drugs. Did we talk about that?
I have no idea.
Always.
That feels like something that has come up in the past.
I think this guy has just something he needs to get out.
Okay.
Yeah, he didn't say anywhere, don't read my name or anything, so here we go. First thing you should know is that I am a drug addict. I have been clean and sober for 13 years now and started my recovery when I was 22. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Congratulations.
Yes, it's a hard, yeah.
My drug of choice was crystal meth.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Yes.
To stop doing, as it turns out.
Yeah. Don't fucking do crystal meth, please.
For the love of God.
Like, if anything about this email makes you think you should. I snorted and smoked it, but never shot it. Shooting it is for junkies, and fuck that. Let me tell you a little something about crystal meth. It is strong, and it fucking works. It literally overrides your body's instincts to continue as a going concern. Food? The thought never enters your mind. Sleep? Again, not a thought until you start seeing things. One time I went a full week with only a few hours of sleep. I've also done several 2 to 3 week binges with an average of 7 to 8 hours of sleep a week. Sometimes I would go for a few days and not be able to remember if I had slept at all. I'm just sitting here looking at this, wondering if I should abridge parts of it, but whatever. Now I've done my share of acid and mushrooms, but goddamn, stay awake for a week and you will talk to people that aren't there. I shit you not. This is going somewhere. The most vivid visual I ever saw was when I was laying down in my bed pretending to sleep so my parents didn't think their kid was a tweaker. The letter M appeared above the doorway to my room. It was bright yellow and had a solid blue outline. It then grew a small mouth and started chomping. It slowly made its way around my room for about a minute, then came towards me and dissipated. 13 years later, and I
had something like that happen as a kid.
Yeah?
Go on.
Okay.
Meth was not involved.
All right.
I don't think.
I hope not.
Is the M for meth?
Look, I'm not a fucking psychotherapist.
All right.
13 years later, and I can still picture it with crystal clarity. I have seen and heard many other things that weren't there, but that was by far the most vivid. All right. To the point. However, I wrote this to tell you something else about crystal meth. In my experience, it is basically steroids for video games. Namely, games that require fast twitch reflexes. Think about it. They call it speed for a reason. It actually speeds up your mind. You can think faster, react faster, reason faster, and work through logic faster.
Okay.
Yeah? I know. Well, that's why I was...
He's not saying that the reasoning or the logic is actually good. It's just that it's faster.
Or that any of these things are worth the toll.
Yeah.
Granted, you get diminishing returns the more days you go without sleep, but if you are in decent health and are in the first couple days of a... He says binder. I think he meant bender. Then the results are just as I described. My heaviest meth use was spent during the heydays of Counter-Strike. During firefights, it literally felt like things were going in slow motion. Not full-on Max Payne bullet time, but just slow enough to notice that the game was a lot easier than it was when I wasn't on the drug. I always ranked in the top 3 in just about any match. My reactions were so quick that I felt like I could pump 5 rounds into someone before they could even take aim. I literally felt like I was cheating, and Punkbuster couldn't do a goddamn thing about it. My crowning meth-induced Counter-Strike moment.
Yes, let's celebrate it in all its glory.
Was when I used my AWP to kill 5 people in 5 seconds with 4 bullets. Yes, 1 bullet passed through someone and killed the guy behind him. My aim was dead on, and I simply couldn't pull the trigger fast enough. The results that I have experienced were not only limited to video games. I am a pretty awesome volleyball player. Vinny's tilting.
That is an aside I did not expect.
Head back.
The idea of playing a sport on like video games, like sure.
While on meth, I felt like I had more time in the air before my hits.
Wow.
I had time to jump, maneuver the block, and survey the other side of the court before my spike. Needless to say, I did not have this type of clarity while not on the drug. These results also hold true for foosball and ping pong. No, Dan, this is not the same as saying that you were better at billiards while you were drunk. These are actual, factual, and measurable results. Anyway. Now, hang on. I feel like I have to read this part. Now, don't get me wrong. Meth is a terrible drug, and I could go on and on about the downsides, but that's for a different email.
I mean, no, it could be in this email, too, if you want to.
Yeah. Could have maybe done with a little more of that. This email is all about the use of meth in order to achieve true first-person shooting power and precision. I realize that the vast majority of gamers have probably never tried this particular drug. However, what if that is what makes the gamers in Asian countries so good at fast twitch and micromanagement games such as LoL, Dota, and StarCraft? Man.
Yes, no, continue.
All right. I'm willing to bet that if you measured the clicks per minute of someone while sober and then again on speed, one would be higher than the other. Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Hang on. I'm sorry. I'm going to cut part of this out. No, crushing up Ritalin and snorting it doesn't give you nearly the same effect as a line of meth. They have similarities, but they are worlds apart. Just to let you know, I'm now a productive member of society, happily married, and a father of 3, soon to be 4 kids.
Well, congratulations
Yes.
for kicking the meth habit.
Yes, on your sobriety, absolutely.
But boy, your Counter-Strike game probably went to shit, huh? Bet it sure be cool if you could shoot.
I don't really have a lot of comment on this, but hearing it, I would wonder if being off meth, having used meth, if you were in a meth hole, if you were off meth, right? So you were between meth sessions, right? If you spiked and then guttered out, would make your Counter-Strike game even worse.
Probably
than when you were baseline.
Probably,
right?
Yeah.
So would
Yeah,
with the?
I mean, there is quite a come down off that stuff.
So I don't know much about it at all, but I would assume that you probably bottom out, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, man, my counter game is fucking sucking right now. But if I were to take some meth, it would come back up. But maybe baseline is maybe not so bad at Counter-Strike. Between the peaks and valleys, maybe that baseline was closer to the peak than to the valley.
You're saying it's not going to take someone who is bad at Counter-Strike and make them good. It's just going to take someone who's good at Counter-Strike and make them better.
I'm saying that
for a time.
I'm saying maybe some of it is perceived, and maybe I think the drug does things that stimulate the body.
Mm-hmm.
But I think maybe this summer, I was fucking killing it in Counter-Strike.
I think there are just some built-in delusions of grandeur going on.
That combined with the wow, when I'm off, I fucking can't concentrate and do anything at all.
So it's more of a relative type thing, like contrast.
I guess that is the missing detail, is that we don't know how his current Counter-Strike game is after many years of sobriety.
Or being now 14 years older.
So there's been
kicked Counter-Strike just like he did the meth.
Right. There's been some discussion lately about esports and Adderall.
So that was kind of the beyond the meth is crazy, right? Angle. That was why I brought this up, because he mentions the Ritalin stuff or whatever. Or was it Adderall specifically?
Yeah. These days it's
I feel like esports
He's been clean too long talking about Ritalin.
Okay, sure. But esports kind of seems like it is maybe headed for its first major doping scandal, right?
Sure, yeah. There have been players that have admitted to, maybe not in tournaments, but have admitted to if I am on Adderall when I play, I do better. It's definitely noticeable. And there have been some players that have said that. It's not necessarily major. I haven't followed it too closely, but there's definitely people saying definitely not in a tournament setting. And then other people saying that team was totally doing it. You could see them; they were practically handing it out to each other at the party. Blah blah blah.
Oh boy!
That stuff is starting to get thrown around a little bit in a derogatory way, in the accusations.
Great.
Insinuations?
Insinuating that those guys are there.
Jeez. It really is becoming a true sport then.
Yeah.
Boy.
It was also on ESPN2 over the weekend. Here's the Storm was.
Really?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
There was an article I just read in the paper about
esports growing up.
Adderall in the business place where people are.
I mean, that's what Ritalin used to be. I remember it was really creepy, but my first magazine job, there were people on that staff that were just let's do some Ritalin to go to this business meeting. Whoa! It was just what the fuck?
Yeah.
It was that at 19, that was the first sign of just I don't want to be like these people at all.
Yeah.
And oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? You know, it was definitely like,
Yeah, this was like,
So-
I need to get this PowerPoint done, and I'm going to be here all night, and like I need some more.
we got to crush this meeting, bro.
Yeah. So like this helps me focus. This is like,
As someone with ADHD who was diagnosed fairly late in life, this is all very distressing to hear. All of this, because I never really experienced this. No one I grew up with really like took that shit recreationally or otherwise.
Yeah.
And the version I take is like a time release thing that is not nearly as potent as like straight Ritalin or straight Adderall. But like, I don't know. I'll just talk about this shit. Like, I know what that drug does to me, and it doesn't really do much of anything other than just kind of like focus my attention and like kind of make my energy a little less all over the place.
Right.
So I don't really know what that like that pure like doing that shit and like, you know, more concentrated doses really does to the brain. But I don't know, man. It just kind of stresses me out because it's like I can't even get more than 30 days of that drug because it's a controlled substance, and it's controlled specifically because of people doing shit like this.
Yep.
And it kind of makes me crazy because I have like an actual problem, and unfortunately, people have fucked that up beyond recognition.
I mean, Adderall in schools and Adderall around finals time.
College students cramming for finals and stuff like that.
Stuff's definitely.
I guess not going to college, I didn't experience a whole lot of that.
Yeah.
I wonder if and when this becomes a more codified part of like the esports.
I think like prescription drug abuse is a super scary fucking thing that has some extremely negative outcomes.
And I think what makes it even scarier than like, in some respects, scarier than like crystal meth abuse is like people don't take it as seriously.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Right.
At some point, we started glorifying it. And it's like at some point, like I just start to sound like a fucking dad or something. But like, think about all the years, and it's like you look back on it now, and it's like I think we were probably all of an age that it didn't necessarily sink in as like this insidious kind of fucked up thing. But think about all the Eminem albums talking about popping Vicodin and Percocets and all this other stuff, and then think about like that time and the years that followed, and like I don't know about you guys, but I had a ton of friends that just got way in over their head on that shit.
Yeah. Yes,
way in over their head, and fucking
it happened to my stepbrother.
Yeah, and it's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
and it's like obviously I'm not going to say like people shouldn't be allowed to say that. I mean it's like First Amendment is the First Amendment. You got to go to the wall for it, right? But at some point, society did it to itself. Spent enough time glorifying all that fucking shit that now people are like, yeah, let's fucking get on the online pharmacies and get all this Klonopin and fucking all this other stuff, and let's get super fucked up and drink and do this. And it's like,
it's just one thing being glorified in a long string of probably not great things for you being glorified in various outlets like that.
That's true. It just, I don't know. Like, I feel like maybe that was just like the coming of age situation for me. Like, it was around the age that I started to notice that stuff like this was happening, is that it was happening with prescription drugs.
Yeah.
So maybe in the 70s it was cocaine, or whatever.
And now it's like synthetic weed or something.
Now it's just coke again.
But I think with the prescription stuff, the exposure to it is legitimized. I mean, there's a reason why a doctor will give it to you to expose you to it. It's
right.
Like a back injury
you
or
think
something.
like, oh, well, people fucking take this all the time for this reason. Like, I can just take it, like,
or
whatever.
like my doctor gave it to me, and like now when I stop taking it, I feel like shit. And then, I feel like for lack of a better word, the gateway into that stuff can be very innocuous and in almost codified into our society of like, I'm prescribing this to you for a reason. You have a back injury, take it, and now you're kind of hooked on something that you might have a lot of trouble getting off. And I feel like people for a long time, and I think it's a little different now, didn't take that very seriously. Like, you can't get off of this prescribed, like, what's wrong with you? And like that, I think, wasn't taken seriously. People kept it in a hidden, from everybody for a long time. And like, not even like, it wasn't like my experience with it were like people who were older, like 30s and 40s when I was in my 20s taking it. And it was like, they're not listening to Eminem. They just got some shit from their doctor. And now they're getting it from a fucking guy who's just writing scripts like for money. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. That stuff is bad. Crystal meth, though, will fuck your shit up.
Please.
Doing crystal meth will lift you up until you break. I have it on good authority.
Please, for the love of fuck, do not take crystal meth based on what you've heard on this podcast.
Don't take it ever for any reason whatsoever.
Fucking, like, I don't care how fucking dirty your bathroom is. Like,
do you guys they have crystal meth
meth
posters around? Because New York is like littered with just like fucking.
I mean,
don't do meth.
I don't think you have to go very far on the internet to find that stuff.
No, well, I'm saying like posters just like down the streets or just.
I never saw. I mean, I saw people that were fucking far gone on meth. That was the clear thing to look at and go, oh man.
Yeah.
I don't want to be into this. Like, we're not that far off from some pretty fucking scary meth territory up north where Alex and I are from.
Oh, yeah, Mendocino, all the way.
Like, I mean, you got Lower Lake and all that stuff. Like,
there are a million trailers out behind trees that are just smoking all the time, and that's why.
Yeah, I mean, I know people that, like, had careers and all this other stuff that got into using, got into dealing, got into cooking, like different aspects of it as their shit got worse and worse and worse. And it's fucking scary.
It's not fun, like on that television show Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that was a good jolly time.
That's good times. And that Counter-Strike, his game was fucking out of control. That's
Bryan Cranston, champion esports player.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, man.
So congratulations again to the writer who got off and got his life clean, because you don't hear a lot of good stories coming out.
No, I think that was a good email to read, because it's it's someone with a long-term perspective on what it did to their life early on, and they've obviously been able to sort of turn themselves around, which is great. And I think that's a good thing to hear. But yeah, at the same time, relaying those stories does not mean do those same things for the love of God.
Or don't try it out to get your fucking game.
I mean, note that despite being sober for almost a decade and a half, he still refers to himself as an addict in the present tense.
I mean, addiction is a lifelong thing.
Yes.
Yep.
It's not anything to fuck around with.